get made fun of amongst their friends groups. It's pretty much everything, right? I remember Bill Burr back in the day had that joke, like, every guy will make fun of you no matter what you do. You're standing outside in the middle of winter. What are you wearing, a jacket? What are you, sissy, wearing a jacket? Right? It's kind of one of those things guys will do with one another. Talk about that a little bit coming up, right? Yeah. So I've seen here Joe Rogan is out there clarifying some statements made on his behalf. People ran up and down the internet talking about how after the Trump interview that he has done, that Kamala Harris was offered that interview and has since turned it down. Joe Rogan has come out and said, no, that's not quite true. What happened was, for the record, the Harris campaign has not passed on doing the podcast. They offered a date for Tuesday, but I would have to travel to her, and they only wanted to do an hour. I strongly feel the best way to do it is in the studio in Austin. My sincere wish is just to have a nice conversation and get to know her as a human being. I really hope we can make it happen. Okay, so first, even if you don't like her as vice president, she's the vice president. A podcaster goes to her. I'm sorry, she's the vice president. You want her, you go to her. I'm okay with that part. Things going on, right? She's butchering all of them, but she does have them going on. So, like, that part, I'm like, dude, nah. If you wanted that bad, you probably go to her. I can understand that part. I can understand that. Only wanting an hour makes her look bad. It does. That's not going to come off as she's busy. I mean, I just gave her the she's busy excuse. I only have it. That's not going to come off as that. The knock on her, even by people who are looking to vote for her, is she doesn't really have answers. Like, she doesn't. When you push her, it's like, oh, not a whole lot behind of this, right? Little smoke and mirrors issue. And telling him after he's already done this with your competitor, you've only got an hour to do it, I don't think that comes off looking good for you. And I think it only solidifies what people are concerned about with her, which is she all there? Like, does the elevator go to the top? Now, I know why they would like to get her in and out of there pretty fast, right? Because one of the questions he's going to ask her is this. You said for 3.5 years that his mental state was fine, and now you've replaced him because it wasn't. Can I ask, Mrs. Vice President, when did you know for sure that isn't what the media has told you Joe Rogan is? I had to tell one of my listeners this the other day. He goes, I just assumed all of Joe Rogan's vote that about him. So you keep turning them on, because that's true of my audience too. Misconception of what this audience is, and it pisses me off. Every time somebody says it out loud, I get mad. Because it's like, that's not true. And it's not true of his audience either. Let me tell you why, if you're hoping Donald Trump wins, you better hope she doesn't go in there. Because Joe Rogan's not what people think he is. And this is what I mean. That woman can go in there and change his mind and get him on her side. Now, she'd have to go in there, say the things he's looking to hear, right? But he is willing to change his mind. He is willing to vote across party lines, as he has done throughout his life. Mostly been a Democrat, leftish leaning, libertarian, Democratish, mostly his entire life. It's only now. It is only now. And you're seeing more and more of it. Why are you standing over there with them? Because they've been pushed over the line by saying, I don't know about this though. Oh, you're not going up and down our checklist? No! But that's why. Like, there's become a little bit of an issue there. He flies to her, she's the vice president. Let's not just get everything just messed up. She's the vice president. She's got more going on than Joe Rogan does. Or at least, you know what? Let me amend that statement. She should have more going on than Joe Rogan does. You fly to her, man. Right? She's the vice president. Not willing to do the long form thing, though? I mean, it just kind of... You just gave everybody... See? We've been trying to tell you about her. You just gave it to him. Literally handed it to him on a silver platter. He is interested in sitting down and having a conversation with her, which is exactly why I think it probably won't happen.
The Stansberry Show.
Weird, lame, gross, dumb, freak, loser, perv, toothy.
On Rock 106.
This guy's an apology, so I'm sorry. I had forgotten all morning. I have Disturbed tickets for you. Yeah, we'll get those passed out. Do that next hour here on the Stansberry Show. At 9 o'clock, I'll rock the bank, pass out that first $1,000 keyword. That'll be pretty good for you, too. I can't believe that this is still a story. But the other night, there was a political rally. I'm sure you've heard of it by now. It's been called a million things. Couple of things here, and this will come off as defense of him, and it isn't. It's just laying out some realities of what happened the other night. Israeli flags all over the building. A little tough to call it a Nazi rally. Israeli speakers from the stage. African American, Puerto Rican, Latino speakers from the stage. African Americans sang the national anthem. I don't know, man. It feels like a little bit of a tough fit for a Nazi rally. Right? Now, I think people who are supporting Trump, and you weren't calling that a... Guys, it's not about the location or the building. Is that why you think they're calling it that? It's because they think that's what his policies are. And let's be honest, Trump not necessarily opposed to saying some stuff that's, off color, if you will. Not necessarily opposed to it, right? Oh, Bill Clinton here, was that a Nazi rally? It's not about the bricks that compile Madison Square Garden. Like, what the hell's the matter with people? Like, why are we... When I saw it, I was like, guys, he's gonna win. Like, he's clearly going... It's going to be like Uncle Bill and Aunt Sally. If you're a little younger in the comedy scene and like podcasting, you know exactly who Tony Hinchcliffe is. And have for about 15 years. Tony's got one of the biggest pods out there. You know why? It's not because he's great. It's because he had a great idea. That pod is a good idea. That's why it kills. Because it's... I want to carefully say this. This kind of feels like one of those times where white people are trying to white knight. And Puerto Rican people are like, I had a good laugh. I'm like, oh, yeah. Bees. Because we would rather vote that way, and now we can't. So, like, that's why Bill Maher's like, I'm going to do it, but if you think people are going to raise issues, and he stops the joke right there. Essentially telling you, they're flying it into the side of the damn building! Which is exactly what I said when he picked her. She's going to fly into the side of the building. Remember I said, this isn't about him, this is about her. He's being hunted inside of his own party and doesn't realize it. They're going to push... Gonna run her. I said it a million times. People told me, oh, crazy, tinfoil hat, conspiracy theorists, Calmer, Klansberry, all the things. I kept saying, they don't want to run him, they want to run her. And sure enough, here we are. Here we are. Now, you think people are mad at Tony Hinchcliffe, a comedian, for what he said? Wait till you hear how mad they are at the newspaper industry.
The Stansberry Show. On Rock 106.9.
9 a.m., let's rock the bank. Pass out that first one, 9 a.m. The election's been a topic of conversation this morning, and I apologize, man. It's what's out there, right? I mean, it is what's out there. We were talking about Tony Hinchcliffe the other night, the comedian, at the Madison Square Garden Trump rally. He referred to Puerto Rico as a floating island of garbage in the ocean, and people took an issue with that. I don't think it's the best joke in that moment. I think people misunderstand what those events are, especially now. You can go back to Don Rickles in the 80s. The country, everything that's said about, which this is a very interesting point. Everything that's being said about Trump right now was said about Ronald Reagan. Nothing's really new, but it was a little, but society had a little bit more, well, I respect your right to think that. We had a little bit more of that. There's no respect for that. I can't respect it. All right, and both sides are that's the loud majority of both sides. I don't think that's who you are, because if you were, I don't think you'd be here with me. Maybe I could be wrong about that, but that's just, that's kind of how I see that. And, it does feel like this is one of those things where Harris supporters are like, oh my God, worst thing ever. And, the versions of it, but I don't think we will. I don't know how successful it will be because we don't have the respect of art. And I was talking about how back in the day you would want to open that magazine because so-and-so, Cameron Crowe, was going to interview Ozzy. And ex-photographer was going to take her photo, and it's like, dude, she's going to sit for him? Oh, I want to see that. And you knew the photographers. You knew the editor. You knew the writers. Who is the editor of the Washington? Oh. Home City newspaper, and now the Washington Post. Owned by Jeff Bezos, who owns Amazon. Canceled my subscription! Ooh, so scary. You would not even believe how many huge, massive corporations run their entire online